Hello everyone, I'm Steve. Mark's working late tonight, and this is Smokey Steve and Mark. Either welcome or welcome back, and happy Thursday. Every day should be the best day of the week, shouldn't it? Shouldn't every day have that expectation, and I should go with that attitude towards every day of the week? We're getting there. We're getting there. I'll be closing in on 40 in not too long, so maybe I'll get there by 50, 60. I should be so goddamn lucky. So I hope everyone is well. I hope everyone's safe. Are you looking after yourselves? Hopefully. It is not coffee talk, but it is a coffee kind of afternoon evening. Not for difficulties, just for the sake of energy. It's been a good day, but a draining day. So we are going to have a story time. Actually, I would say a positive story time. And I'm going to tell you about my day today. Now, why is today any more special? Because it was a good one. There was some learning experiences along the way and little bits of life lessons that piled in, which usually don't. Not that my job isn't fulfilling and that there's not lessons learned here and there, but today it was like jam packed. So I'm going to tell you about that. It'll give you a little more idea, I think, maybe of what I do for some of my work. I have a lot of duties as assigned, so I'm spread a little thin, but the major job assignment that I have and what I do. So I'll tell you a little bit about that, about the traveling I did today, a little update on how I'm doing mentally with some health concerns I'm still waiting on some tests for, and otherwise just check in. But why not talk about a good day and point out what was good about it, you know? Speaking of good vibes, we have a contest winner to announce for a Good Vibes Only shirt. So for anyone who doesn't know, we're giving away one of these a day that there's a video. And we're doing it for this whole week. I imagine we'll stretch it, but we're saying a week. And what all you need to do is, comment. Well, today's was comment on Monday's video because we didn't film Tuesday or Wednesday. So you had to comment below on Monday's video, and then we pull from that, and I'll tell you today's winner. In order to enter for tomorrow, you will need to comment below this video today. So leave a comment below and that'll enter you into tomorrow. What we use is the YouTube random comment picker. So you put the URL in and then it picks it and then it picks out duplicated users if that's what you want to do and then pull it from there. So I am going to pick the winner. Again, we're pulling from Monday's video because that was the last video we posted. And again, YouTube or commentpicker.com/YouTube. So I move the URL from there to there, and then filter, Control V, filter duplicate users, 44, and now search comments. They go flying like this and like that. So, and our winner is Dawn on Me Now. And her comment was, Monday's replacing Tuesday as the best day of the week. I can't help but agree. Monday is getting very, very good. I'm much more interested in Mondays than Tuesdays at this point. So Dawn, congratulations. You are the winner. Please get in touch with us via email or Messenger or Instagram. We'll need an address where we can mail it. We can't digitally send you a shirt. And we'll get in touch with you and we'll get it out to you. If you're not interested, no problem. Just let us know and we'll pull, I guess, 2 winners in the next giveaway, okay? And again, if you want to enter for tomorrow, just comment below. Comment anything, comment a smiley face. Haters, you're welcome to. It's up for anybody, okay? So today is not a coffee talk, obviously, but it does require a little coffee. Just a hint here and there. So, story time. Now, today was a work day, okay? And I love my job. I really do. It has some hassles with it, but that's work. That's what makes it work. I know people who say, I get up every day loving my job and loving what I do. Fuck you. I mean, there's people that definitely do that. And on the whole, I love the body of work that I do. I love the change that I hope it affects. I work for a nonprofit. So I hope that the mission statement of our agency is pushing towards some of the social justice is probably on the outskirts of it, for change for people who have disabilities, mental health concerns, and making life more accessible and more inclusive and being able to engage in society while at the same time having mental health issues. So the program I work with for my agency spreads me out in 2 counties that we aren't in. There's 2 adjacent counties to where I live and where I work. I only work very closely. I can walk to work from our home. one's extremely urban, and there's a language barrier. The other is extremely rural, and yet somehow there's still a language barrier, even though it's English to English. Um, so it's so I was hired on to do a program, and it was called Illness Management and Recovery. Now it's a psychiatric rehabilitation sort of model. So by psych rehab, think about rehab if you get your knee replaced and you have to go a few days a week to exercise the muscles, to get it worked again, so that after a period of time you're able to do those exercises at home, do them as needed, and then hopefully someday you won't need them at all. The psychiatric rehabilitation model kind of follows the same thing. A person may get out of the hospital and then step down another level of care where they still need support more than like a day, a month with a therapist. So they may go 3-4 days a week, meet with counselors, talk about symptoms, recovery planning, stuff like that. So that's the nature. And there's 1,000 models. And evidence-based practices, holy shit. Everyone's like freaking dripping at the mouth for them. They love it. Everyone will throw money at something called an evidence-based practice. So the one I have, it was meant to be focused on youth and young adults. Now, I didn't like kids when I was a kid. I never thought I'd be sympathetic towards teenagers. Really wouldn't. But that's where I was told to start, 16 to 24. Okay. So I go to 2 children's facilities. Residential treatment. It's a jail for children, essentially. It should be a mental health facility for children, which is probably how it's reimbursed through Medicaid. But if you've been behind the doors of those places and heard from the kids, not every kid can be telling a bad story because they're bitter. Not all of them. And places don't get closed down and have their insurance coverage pulled by an insurance agency if they're following standards of care and everything. But that's neither here nor there. So the kids I was meeting with were in like 12-person group homes. And I'm not hip with the crowds. And I found with kids, kids can smell a phony. They'd rather a really honest nerd than someone who was trying to play a part or trying to curse a lot extra to try to fit in. Or, I would never wear a skull cap to a place like that. Trying to look cool. I, of course, know none of the names of any of the bands that any of them were talking about at all. They were all mostly girls that I was going to see, and I did connect with young females easier than young males. The 1 or 2 young males I did connect with, I really connected with in like a brotherly sort of way. They would give me calls and ask questions and stuff. And of course I was available when I was there, but I was also available during regular, working hours. They could call me anytime if they needed help with something. They were under the care of the state. Some of them may or may not be up for adoption. Let me tell you, there's not a hell of a long line to adopt 16-year-olds with behavioral health problems and violent tempers. They just age out of the system. So when I'm talking with them, initially it was talking with younger folks. The discussions we were having were, how do you apply for Social Security as an adult? Are you able to work? Where do you want to work? Some of them wanted to go into the military, but they had long psychiatric records that may not make them candidates for it. They had different goals and they had different dreams like everybody else does. Some of them just were satisfied. They were, how do we put it? Institutionalized. It was just one home to another, one staff to another. You're raised by staff in 8-hour shifts. And then when you're 18, unless you're in school still, you're out of the house. If you're in school in Pennsylvania, you can stay in services until you're 20 years old and 364 days, or is it 21 years old and 364 days? One or the other. So talking to these kids, we're talking about, I call them kids, I shouldn't. They're young adults, but all the staff call them kiddos. If the kiddos don't mind, I don't feel like you need to change your language. I don't know. But the kiddos, having discussions about where they want to move. I want to live in downtown New York. I'm like, it's kind of expensive. Well, I'll be getting $718 a month in SSI. I'm like, well, I can live here for $700 a month. I'm like, then you have $18. Budget planning, all the kind of stuff that you'd hope children would learn. They don't. They should teach it in school, so that's neither here nor there. Trying to come up with these plans that say, yes, you have mental health concerns. You may have them ongoing for the rest of your life. You may not. They may come and go. But how are you going to prepare yourself in the adult world when you're sprung out into society and there is no case manager necessarily? If you engage in services as an adult, that's your choice. But nobody can come over and drag you, like they did when you were a kid. They're not going to, if you run away, the cops aren't coming. You're just sleeping under the mall, outside the little thing and pulling cigarette butts out of that bucket of sand they have outside. And actually, the longest one are the old ladies. They have lipstick on the butts, and they usually only smoke half of one before they put it away. Not that I've done it. I'm no better. I've done it. They usually like Love or True or whatever that brand is. So with working with kids, I started to run out of kids because there aren't that many beds, unfortunately, or residentials for kids in the area where I live. And it's a conflict in billing if I go into like a day program and try to do my program while they're billing for their program at the same time. It's not okay. So I ended up finding some drop-in centers where billing isn't an issue like that, and they encourage people to come in and talk and do groups. Well, young kids don't usually go to drop-in centers unless there's like sports or free food. So I reached out into a higher age group. And still the same message, but talking in a more general way about how do you live and try to live well while still coping with mental health concerns. So the program itself discusses in different modules education, stress and vulnerability, how some of us are a little more prone to things than others as far as having concerns, breakdowns, meltdowns. Our trauma threshold may be a little lower, stuff like that. How to be an advocate for yourself, how to seek help, coping with problems and persistent symptoms, the stuff that may just never go away. The major symptoms may stop, but there might be a little something lingering that needs to be addressed as it goes. Dealing with co-occurring mental health and drug and alcohol problems. It's not the case for everybody. It isn't. But it's such an overlap that it would be irresponsible not to address it. It says it's an optional module in the program. Ain't optional for me. I'm telling everybody. So it's a fun program. And I do it with adults, and it's odd because I have been doing it for years and years. And today I had the oldest gentleman, after my beautiful drive, and large Diet Coke and large iced black coffee where my bladder almost exploded at a Gulp station. We sat down and we talked. John was very cool. John had some mental health issues and had just been in the hospital about 3 months ago. And he was getting out and trying to get back to things, and he had quit drinking the little bit he had been drinking, and he's taken some new psych meds, and he needs company and he needs support, so he needs somebody to talk to. I was there. He comes to my mental health group. We do it more informally. We talk about recovery in a much more general way. I might have one of those topics in mind, but I'm not bringing worksheets. I'm not bringing handouts. I'm not bringing the other stuff. I know the material, and whatever way the discussion rolls, we cover the curriculum that's in that, vague topic so much. And then we just kind of roll with it from there. So the sequence, it doesn't have to be sequential, the stuff that I'm discussing with folks. So today we sat, and it was just me and John, and we talked. John's 82, by the way. And he's still alive and kicking. And he's funny as hell. He's a veteran. And I hadn't seen him in a year. And I wasn't so sure the last time I saw him I was going to see him again either. We were in a group the last time I met him, and he had a lot to talk about. I suspect because he lives alone, and that he enjoys his alone time, maybe. John is an alias, by the way. John, nice generic name. That he's kind of a loner, but enjoys the company so much. So we met and we talked for about half an hour. And he told me about 82 years of life, because it was intimate. I wasn't going to break out curriculum. We were just talking about coping with problems and persistent symptoms. So what's he dealing with now? What was it like before? How is he coping with it now? Do I feel silly prodding, life events and challenges out of a man who's more than twice my age, has served his country, has raised children, still drives at 82? Who am I? Nobody. But he wanted to talk. I could offer an ear. even if it's what I'm not there for. If it's what he needs that day, I'm here to make sure he gets what he needs. So sure, I'll listen. And we talked all about his garden and all about the tomatoes and all about his cat and how orange colored cats are actually nicer and smarter than other cats. I have no idea if this is true, but he broke out his smartphone and starts going through it and showing it to me, pictures of his cat. My parents are like 10 years younger than that. Smartphone? Maybe they'll get there. Maybe. Very tech savvy. Very tech savvy. I was just very, very impressed with him. I mean, I was joking. I'm like, do you want to write down your 10-year plan? And he was like, we might as well. I don't plan on dying anytime soon. I'm like, that is awesome. Sure, absolutely. What do you want to do? He's like, well, I'd like to maybe move around 85. I'm like, okay, that sounds good. I'm like, what else? He's like, maybe another truck. I don't know. He's like, I might need someone to drive me after a while. He's like, in that case, I still need a truck. We're in the woods. Yeah. The area in the small town I go to is very rural. The downtown is one of those like cute hipster head shop, apothecary, tacos, pizza, fusion restaurants, and then you drive 2 blocks and it looks like somebody else won the election. You know, it's just a very different area. There's a very different way of thinking. Some of the most nicest, genuine people I've met are from that area. The staff at this particular place is fantastic. To let me come in and have access to the folks who are there. And John said a few things, but a couple things that stuck out to me because, like I said, I told you a little bit about the kind of work that I do. There's a bunch of other stuff, but that's a chunk of it. I've been having issues back and forth, I mentioned to you guys, with some health concerns. I had to go for an MRI a couple days ago, and I've been hitting refresh on my chart online about every 20 minutes. Like I would even know how to dissect the results. You're supposed to wait. Not supposed to, but you can wait for the doctor to call you, or you can scare the hell out of yourself and read your own chart and Google everything and decide you're dying. So he and I are sitting there talking about health. And it occurs to me I take more medication than this man. Which, you know, we all have our own roads. So, telling me his health medication, his heart medication, he has congestive heart failure. It takes him a long time to get up, you know, his driveway to get to his truck. It's a nice truck, by the way, too. I would take that truck in a heartbeat. I like our little SUV, but I would take that truck in a heartbeat. So he's telling me about what's difficult and how he's had to cut back on ice cream and candy bars, and he started drinking seltzer. I'm like, oh my God, me too. He's like, but not the stuff from Walmart. They put that fake sugar in it. I'm like, you get it. He gets it. It's just soda. It's just clear fruit soda. Get the seltzer. So he understood that. Luckily, he thought I was a little bit funny, so I gave him a few laughs. I thought he was hysterical, so we laughed a lot. While we were talking, he was talking out loud, pretty much to himself, and I was listening for a bit of the time. I was just nodding, because he seemed to want to speak, and I'm like, well, I got nothing to say right now. He's got the floor. I'm paid to be here for him. It's not the reverse. So I'm listening, and he was talking about balance, and he said something that stuck out to me. And not much usually sticks out to me, because you think you've heard all the good platitudes in the world. And he had said, you know what Einstein said? Albert Einstein. Like, I was confused. He just wanted to make sure. He said, what's the same thing about life as it is about riding a bicycle? He's like, you know what the same thing is? In each of them, in order to stay balanced, you got to keep moving. I thought. So in order to stay, he's like, you just got to keep on trucking. This was this guy's advice, just keep on trucking. And as we started talking more, I'm like, he does keep on trucking. Because my first thought is, guy lives alone, he's 82, what's going on? Now, he did have struggles before. John had talked about there was an intervention during a dark part of his depression, which hit in his late 70s, where he felt unsafe, and they came in, and it was a hoarding type situation, and he had to be taken care of, and he was in the hospital for a while. Then they wanted him to go to program after the hospital, and he said, I'm fine. He's like, I got other ways to handle this. I'll find other groups. I'll find other resources. And he did. He comes to mine. And he said it helps. He thinks it's an important resource. I'm one of a bunch of resources. I'm not saving John's life. There's a bunch of resources he taps. Not the specific ones his insurance company would want to pay for. But I'm free when you come in. So he can come talk to me. I'm good. But the thing about, you know, like a bicycle, as long as if you want to stay balanced, you got to keep moving. And then he, of course, mentions liver cancer because we're talking about artificial sweeteners, we're talking about smoking, we're talking about lifestyle habits that he's quit that probably helped him push. I mean, good genes go a long way, but he had said, "Oh, I quit smoking. Oh, I quit drinking." He said, "Oh, I quit everything." He's like, "Except watermelon. I love watermelon. I'm buying one after I leave here." He was a sweetheart. He was a sweetheart. It was a good afternoon. It was a very good afternoon to sit and talk with him. And then as we finished up, he asked me what my name was again. I'm like, Steve. So just, I asked him what his was again. John. Um, Fun guy. Fun guy. So hopefully he'll come back next week and I'll see him next week. But it kind of put my own issues in perspective because here's a guy who's twice my age. Okay. Put a few things in perspective for me. This guy's twice my age. Dealt with mental health problems in his late 70s, which put him in the hospital, which is not the kind of thing I think a lot of people, if they look at their elderly relatives, would think, you know, well, suicidal. And yes, seniors are at risk. Seniors are at risk. Um, that he would be so, he has such a light attitude towards life that I wouldn't think that he would have been so depressed he would have wanted, leave it just late last year, or late 2019 at that point. Um, so first of all, cheers to him. He made my day a good day. I mean, I know I make my day a good day. I was just going along with it. And that's it. We were talking about things to quit and good foods and how he quit soda and everything. And he said, "You don't know. 20 years later, we might have found out there was stuff in that. You might have liver cancer." This is the big fear I'm having at the moment because that's the organ they're running tests on for me. So I'm like, okay, needed to hear something. Needed to hear something about lifestyle changes. Needed to hear something about the liver. Maybe I'm hearing what I need to hear right now out of a sage mouth. So let me just shut up and listen. So we talked and he left. And it was a wonderful drive home, too. It was beautiful out. I stopped back at the office. I stopped for another soda and there was crazy construction. I don't know how there's traffic in a town of 3,000, but every single person was wanting to go to McDonald's drive-through at the exact same time. So I didn't go. Came home, doing some data entry today, kind of cleaned up the house a little bit. I'm like halfway done with the daily chores, but it was just a good day. And I don't do a lot of videos about things that are like just a good day. I think in the future I'll do one of those daily vlogs and show you guys where I went. But for today's story, it was more about John. It was more about John teaching me a little lesson about how life keeps going, how it doesn't end when you want it to. Because back in the day, I thought, I'm going to die on my terms and when I want to, and you can't tell me no, and it's my rights as an American to end my... Someone actually said that at an event that we attended. It was anti-suicide event. People have the right to do a lot. Normally, I would tell someone not to do that, but in her case, I think she should have ran with it. So, at any rate, as the day closes, Mark will be home shortly. I don't know what we're doing tonight. I feel like Uber Eats. I made vegetable soup last night and it was delicious, but it was so healthy it wasn't filling, So we'll see what we do tonight. I'm going to try to have the place looking nice by the time he gets home, because it is his long day. And because I had a good day, I'm not going to sit in my chair and mope and chain smoke for the rest of the evening. I'm going to try to do something a little more interesting. So thank you all for listening to me talk about my good day. I hope you're having a good one too. I hope even if you woke up with a bit of an attitude like I did, that you could find some meaning during the day. I said during last week's video, spirituality for me comes in communication, comes in the hum and the dynamic between two people speaking, or even between, this is kind of one-way communication unless you leave a comment, but comes in this. And so today was, a practice in spirituality, a conversation between two people, and I left the conversation different than when I went into it, and I felt better and not worse, and it made me look at my circumstances differently, and I don't think I could get more of a day of work than that. So he seemed to feel better. I felt better, and I got paid for it. So I like my job. So thank you all for watching. Please do subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get alerts when we have new videos and also when we go live. You can follow Mark and I on Facebook at SmokeySteveAndMarc or on Instagram at SmokeySteveAndMarc. Our email address and contact information is all listed below as well. Thank you again, and we will catch up with y'all tomorrow? Probably tomorrow. Don't set it in stone, but probably tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Bye.